And the problem with this question was, the demo was extremely tough. And so a lot of people were not able to follow it. So what I thought is, how about giving like 1 week of, 2 weeks of downtime, means 2 weeks. You can see the previous video as well. And today we have a quick revision session so that, we can understand this, right? So here is a question, AZ204. Please note that people who are new to AZ Azure, then this is not for you. Must be you should start with the Azure training videos and so on, right? So I hope that we don't have a lot of new people in the class. In case you are new, please, we have Learn Azure step by step. We have Azure 900, and then we have AZ204, right? So let's look at this question again, and let's try to today again revise this whole thing, right? So you are a developer for a software as an application kind of a company. And that offers it is you are a developer for a SaaS application that does this and this. Use API management to access the services, right? So you have an API management out here. At the back end, you have web API, you will have WCF, you will have a lot of things, right? Now, so a security audit found that a lot of the web services or whatever these APIs are all naked. So they are not authenticated, right? So we want to go and authenticate it. And we said that we will use validate JWT. This was the answer. Other things all are something different, like JSONP is for when you're calling something, how do you say, in a course, when you have like two IP addresses which are different, you want to make call from one IP address to another IP address. So these are all different, but this was the right answer, right? So here, if you look at it now, let me again, oh gosh, this is going to be very tough. So let me share my whiteboard out here. Yesterday, Jinal was doing the same thing, so he was like sharing and then again sharing. I think I understand his problem. So here's how this will work now. Let me, all right. So first thing, let us say now you have how that JWT policy will work. Let's try to first understand it, right? So you have your Azure API management service. API management service is out here, right? At the back end of this API management, there is your own API, whatever it is. Let's assume that there is a web API, which is naked. It is not protected, right? You have a client out here, some console application you can think about, or some Angular application, whatever, right? So you have a client out here. Now this client, whenever it makes a call to this API, you want it to be protected, right? And also he has very specifically said in the question that it has to be OpenID, it has to be OAuth. So if you remember that question out there, he had talked about OpenID. When you talk about OpenID, that means we're talking about OAuth, right? So what exactly is OAuth? I'll just quickly tell you guys. So OAuth means, let us say let's say you have a Facebook user ID and password. You have a game website. You want to access this game website via this Facebook. So what you will do? OAuth. You will log in with your Facebook account. You will log in with your game application account, and you will give rights between them. So what open authentication does is between two applications, it helps you to say define a trust, or put a trust. So if you always remember, for example, if you go to LinkedIn, you can probably log in by Facebook. That day I went to I think I went to Netflix, and I was able to log in with something which is of I think Amazon Prime, I think so. I was able to log in with my Facebook, right? So that means I have a Facebook user ID and password. I have an Amazon Prime user ID and password. I am authorized to give this establishment of the connection. That is termed as OAuth, right? Now, what is OpenID? OpenID says that if someone comes from external, if let's say someone is out there, this OAuth is between application, right? But now when someone comes, to this game application, we should give him some kind of an ID and a password, right? Some kind of authentication should happen, right? So fine. So now here, so first thing to do this OAuth or OpenID, right? The first thing is, that means we have to create two applications, like how we had Facebook and your own game application. So here inside Azure, I will first create a client application. Let me see if this is visible, just to check, right? Yeah, like a federation. Yes, I'm just checking, that my screen is visible. So in Azure, first thing, I will create a client application. I'm sorry. I will create an server application or the API application, right? This client application, I will register in this client app. This API application, also I will register in the API, right? So I'll say that this API application is registered. We'll have to actually register API M. Please understand, because we cannot access web API. So we have to register API M, right? So we'll register API M here. And then by using our favorite Active Directory, we will establish a trust between them. So now when this client logs in, until this client does not have an access to this API, this application, let us name this as application, sir. This is application. This is API. This is application 2, server application, right? This is client application. This is server application, right? They represent some kind of an application, like must be a mobile application or a console application, right? So now this client out here, he is associated with him, the API. So if this trust is not there, then this client can never log in into this API, right? So this is the demo, right? So what I will do is I will create first API M. This is termed as your front end API, right? So if you see out here, let me now go to the portal. Guys, now I have to flip between websites. So we have to be very, very careful now. So I have to new share. So I'm going to go now to my Azure. So here is my Azure. So what I've done out here is, let me see if, okay. Let me delete this. This is one which I was teaching someone. So let me go and delete this West Point API. Let me delete this so that we don't have any confusion. Delete, what happened? Okay, delete. Yes, West Point API will be blocked. Enter the service name to proceed. Guys, I'll tell you why I'm deleting it, because it can confuse you guys, so I'm going to delete it, right? Okay. So this is getting deleted, guys. So this one here, Quest Point API, is getting deleted, right? So that's got deleted. So here it is. I have created something called as a Quest Point front-end API. So you can see here, I've given a name here called as, why I've given the name front-end API? Because API management service is like a front-end. At the back end, you will have WCF, you will have a lot of APIs, right? Now in this front-end API, in this API, they have Azure team has given an API called as an Echo API. So you can see here Echo API. So remember, you can go and you can keep adding WCF here and so on. So you have Quest Point front-end API as the front end. And then at the back end, you can have your WCF, you can have this and this. So you can add an API here. Remember, in the previous class, I've already discussed, right? So very quickly, let me go to my drawing board out here so that I can keep showing you what I'm doing, So again, let me switch my screen. My goodness, this is so bad, right? So we have Quest Point front-end API. Remember that front-end API I've created by APIM, front-end API. At the back end, they have given one ready-made API called as the Echo API. So we will not create our own API now. We can just use this Echo API. We can use the get method of the Echo API to do things, right? Now, client, you will say, sir, we also need a client, an Angular client or something, right? So what we will do is we will use the developer portal. Now this front-end API here also has a client by which you can do testing. Very quickly, let me show you. So we will not create a client, we will use this. So again, so here, let me see, I don't know if, right. I don't know why this problem is. So here it is. This is, remember that here we have a portal. I will just go ahead here in the portal overview. and I will publish this portal. This portal is nothing but it is like your postman. You can think about, where you can go and you can invoke things. So I'm going to go and publish the portal. So you can think about that this developer portal is our client. Developer portal is our client, right? So in other words, if you now go to the portal, this is the API, and for some reason this new developer portal is not working. So I'm going to use the developer portal legacy, right? So you can see here, developer portal legacy. So in this portal, I can go and I can invoke post, get, and put delete on the backend API. So you can see here, this is the API out here. I can go, I can click on this Echo API. At this moment, I just have one API, right? If we had multiple APIs, then we could have used them as well, right? And here you can see this is a get method. I can go and I can invoke it. I can say try it. So I don't want to create a client at this moment. I can just use this and do things, right? So if you see here, at this moment, if you see in the authorization, he's just using a subscription key, right? So it does not have any Windows AD out here. You can see there is no Windows Active Directory out here, right? So there it is. You can see 200 okay without any kind of logging. It just goes ahead and does things, right? So our client will be the developer portal. Our developer portal, which is again a part of front-end API, but it's a different thing still, right? Is our client, right? So this is our client. This is our API M, front-end API. This is actually our back-end API. The actual API is this. The actual API is this, right? So first thing, what I do now, right? I'll just mark in red colors. Okay. Step one, I will create a client application. In Azure, I will create a client application representation so that this developer portal is represented. Then I will create a server application and this guy is represented, right? So let us go ahead first. Let us create both of them, right? So let me go back again and let me go to the portal. So I'm going out here. So now here, API management. So first thing, register an application. You can just type registration, app registration. There it is. Now remember that before coming to this class, I was taking some class out here. You can see here, there are two APIs added here. I can just delete them. I was taking some class for US and they were having this. So I'm going to delete them, right? Okay, I've deleted them. So I'm going to go and make two app registrations out here, right? So let's say this is the developer portal client. This represents the developer portal client, right? I'll just say register, right? So that is one app registration. Another app registration we will do is for the server, right? So I will say server API client, right? See, client means client app, client application. It represents that client. Please understand. So server API client, again, I'll just say register for now. Good. So we have developer portal client and we have server API client. Let me go back, guys. Let me go back to the screen out there and let me just show you step by step. So developer portal client, I can put proper names out there, right? So let me rub this. So let me put proper names, or else afterwards, nothing about the red colors. Please note, I just selected that. So developer portal client, he represents this developer portal, right? And server API client, which actually represents the client, right? Good. So we have created both of them. Now, what is the next step? What I will also do is I'm following these steps out here. As my screens are getting having issues out here. I'm actually sharing the document which I'm following, right? I'm sharing the document at this moment, you know, so you can see that document, you can follow, right? So guys, in this document is a, let me go and show you this document also. Oh, can I just put this into all into one browser? Must be, that's good. Share. So guys, here is the document which I'm sharing for. So if you see here, it's absolutely the same things, you know, what are said out here. 4 steps. Register the application with the backend app. So the one which I've created now, backend means server API client. Register with him. Register another application with client application. So register your developer portal with developer portal client. Please understand, if you have an Angular application, you have to register him here and you have to give him the key, right? After that, Azure AD, allow the client to make a call to backend. The steps are absolutely as I've discussed, you know, it's like federated. So someone said right word, federated. And then configure the developer console application to call the API, because this developer console application has to be connected with the client, right? And that's it. This validate JWT token is something different, but that's the last step, right? So first register the backend with this one. So I'll just follow this. Click on new registration, and I've done this, right? Now the second is, now remember this one, this application, we are it's an API which we are representing, right? When you're saying you are representing an API, you will expose an API. See, for client, we have to generate a key. But if you say that this app here is for API, that means you have to expose an API. So I'm going to go and say expose API, right? I will say add a scope. So first thing, remember that this, when you say expose an API, you have to say that which is the name out here, the client application ID. You'll just click on this set and save it. I wish all of these are automated, guys. I can't help. Azure team has made it quite complicated, right? Now, what is this scope? Scope means that your API has post, get, put, delete. What do you want, right? So I'll say, okay, this is API.get. Only get method will be called out here, right? So you can see a user.read and so on, right? So you can have API.all, which has post, get, put, delete, everything, right? So you can have scopes as well, right? So I'm going to go and say this is API.get, display the name, display the content description, everything like is API.get. And I have add scope. So a scope in a client means that he's saying that yes, I want to expose an API, but from the API I can create 2-3 scopes: API.crud or API.justRead, API.update, and so on, right? So there it is. This scope has been created. Let's go back, right? Now register in that another application, register the client, right? So I'm going to go now to the another application. So please note, again, I'll go back to diagram. I'm so sorry, I can't show this in the browser. I have to, it's something I need to flip, right? So what I've done is, in this server API client, I have added a scope, which is API.get, right? Remember, still the linking has not been done. Still, this part I have still not done it, right? So must be I can just keep it here. Also, I have still not done this part. Okay, I've just created, you can think about a standalone server API client which has scope of API.get. Okay, so good. Slow. Shares are bad. Okay, now let's look at here. So go and register. Now remember, now when you say that you want to expose an API, you created a scope. When you say that you're from the register application, you want to expose an API, you created a scope. Now here you are saying client application. So you have to create a key. You have to create a certificate, a secret key, right? So I'm going to go here and create a secret key. So developer portal client, and where is the key certificates and key? I'll create a new client secret key. You want it for 1 year? Yes, I'll just keep it for 1 year. Remember, you can expire this manually as well, and you can create certificate which can get expired more faster as well, right? So this is my developer portal certificate. Remember, a developer portal is my client, right? Now, when you create this certificate, you have a key out there. I would always suggest in Azure, always use the key vault, right? See, remember, it is pointless. So I've copied the key, guys. I've copied the key in a notepad. Must be that is not visible as a window. When in a Azure portal in a Azure portal, if you have some keys and connection strings, if that connection string is given to the end user or the end developer, there is no security left. So what you should be doing is that you should put those keys, everything into a key vault, and that key vault should be given access. So do not expose your things directly, go through the key vault, right? Fine, but at this moment, let's not, this is just a demo. So I've copied the the key out there, right? Okay, good. So we have done with the key. We have created this scope, right? Now the next thing is grant permission in Azure AD. Let me again go back to diagram. I'm so sorry. Let's keep going back to the diagram because so here this we have generated a key using the certificate. We have generated a key, right? A security key. Remember, still the association is not done. So if you see what we have done till now is we have created standalone clients. He says API.get. This guy has a certificate, right? Now comes the part of AD. It's now time for AD to say that, hey, like both of you guys connect with each other, right? Still remember, association is not done, right? So that's the next part. In AD, we have to register both of them. So let me go back. So grant permission in AD, right? So choose your client and add a permission for that API. Fine. So I'm going to go and choose a client. And I will say API permission, add a permission. So I have this my API, my server API client, add a permission. You can see now it is showing API.get, but you can have a lot of other things. I'll say add a permission, right? And what I will do is also here, there is a kind of a double security, saying that, okay, like you have added a permission, but let the admin grant it further. Fine. So I'm going to go and say, okay, let the admin grant it further, right? Admin has granted it, right? So now we have created a connection between both the API, server API client and the developer portal client. Let me again go back. So that means what we have done now is there is a kind of connection which is established via the AD between both of them, because we have said that this API.get, this client can access it. If you go and ever remove this API.get, the access is gone, right? Good. So this is done out here. Okay. Now let's go back again. Right. This is done, and so on, right? Okay. Now we have to connect the client. We said that our developer portal is our client, right? Enable OAuth 2.0 in user developer console. Now remember, if your application is there, if you say no, like my application will connect through C#, then you need to get the client secret key. If you have the client secret key, you can make a call, right? So at this moment, I don't want to create one new one. So I'll go to this API management service. Now this one here, this step out here is the most tough step. Why? Because I did not create a client. If I have created a client by using even console application, must be it's 2-3 lines of code, right? But I'm at this moment, I don't want to go into that, right? So here, this developer console, we will say that yes, enable OAuth 2.0. What is OAuth? You are going through OAuth because you are having a federated access between both of them, right? So here now, let's go to developer console. When I say developer console means you have to go to the API management service, right? So I'll go to API management service, front-end API. In this, I will go now to OAuth 2.0. And here, I'm establishing a connection. Here, I'm establishing a connection between the client and the server and everything, right? So let's give a name out here. This is OAuth connection, right? Client registration page. Well, I don't have any client registration page. I can just put HTTP localhost. Do you want an authorization code? Yes. Once the client is, has an AD access, he should generate a token. he should generate a JWT token. That is important, huh? So I'll say, yes, I need an authorization access. Authorization endpoint URL. That means now from here, we are saying to this client, where will you hit? To authorize yourself, where will you hit? You will hit actually, let me again go back to our portal. So here, he will hit to the Quesponse API, to the server API client. And in this, he will hit over here to this authorization endpoint. So I'll say that this is an authorization endpoint. So if you see here, this is an authorization endpoint to say that this is my user ID and password, and the token is received from this endpoint. So if you're using OAuth 2.0, you will take for authorization this and the token this. So you make a call here, you get a token in this link. If you're using the version 1 of OAuth 2.0, then you have some other things out here, right? So I'll take this endpoint and I will put it out here. I will allow post because a username and password can also be posted. So if this is the authorization endpoint, tell me which is your token endpoint. So my token endpoint is this. I'll take my token endpoint, right? This is good. Now, also like we said that he is also associated with the client. Remember, this connection is connecting everyone now, the server and client, everyone, because the API management himself is a client. He is himself a server for now, right? So he's saying here, define that scope, right? You know, that client, you know, what kind of scope he has access. So the scope, what he has access for the client, let us go. This step, what I'm doing, if it does not register in your head, it's okay. Don't worry. I'm again saying, I'm trying to give you a relaxation. If this step, you know, does not go into your head, it's okay. But this step, it connects the application registration of client with the developer console, application registration of the server with the backend API. That's what it does, right? So if it does not register in your head, it's okay, because it's a bit complex, and you can follow this. This tutorial is awesome. If you follow it properly, it's good, you know. So now here we had something called as scope. This is the API permission, and we had this scope, right? So sorry, not this scope, API get. So this is the scope he will have access. Client ID, what is your client ID? So the client ID is the developer API client ID. That is a client. What is the secret key? The one which I've copied on my notepad. I'll just paste it. All right. Now, once the redirection, once the authentication happens from the client, this is the redirect URL, right? So I'm going to go and copy this redirect URL, and I will just put it in my notepad. You know, the notepad is not visible to you guys, please note. So, but I've just copied it, right? And I will say create. So this step, what I've done out here, this step does the following. Again, I can show it here. This step enables OAuth 2.0 to be used in developer console, right? So that's what it does. All that step is out here. I've followed it, right? Okay. Now, right. So let me go back to the diagram. You know, every time I'm switching the diagram, because I know that at one moment of time, we will just, everything will just bounce from your head, right? So what I've done is this step out here connected him, and this step out there also connected him. That means both of them got attached to this registration. These both were simple registrations in Azure. They don't know, they will connect to WCF service, or they will register an application, which is this, right? So they had only the necessary security, right? Remember, the security of Azure, you know, they have done in a very isolated manner, like saying that, okay, when we created this registration app, they don't know it will be a mobile app, console app, browser, server will be even APIM or WCF, right? So that's why, you know, you can see the creation of the app registration and attachment, both are two different steps, right? So that is done out here. Okay, let me again. Share. Okay. Anything else I need to do? Yes. When the client application registers, logs in, right? He says, this is my user ID and password. We have to give him a redirect URL. We have to, so this redirect URL, so that's one more step. So I'm going to go out here. to my app registration. So to my client registration, this client portal out here, I need to give, once it is authenticated, so it's a web platform where I will redirect. And what is the redirect URL? The one which I just acquired, right? So I'll just put it out here. This will redirect out here. Logout, I don't have anything for now. I can just say configure. Good. Right now, okay, let's see again, what are the steps? Let me go back to the diagram. Right. So I'm sorry, I think this step has still not been done. I'm sorry. Somebody should have raised a voice to me. This step is not done still, right? I'm so sorry for this. I only did this step. And what this step is doing, and the one which I did now, I'm saying that once it is done, you will redirect here, right? Now the next thing what I need to do is I need to register this Echo API with this guy, right? This Echo API with this guy, right? Or must be, you can also think that front end API. If it is getting too much on the head, you can also, because both of them are almost connected. So this one with him, right? And that is done by this step. So I'm sorry that I thought that. So here, what I will do now is I will browse to my API management service. To do that, I'll browse to my API management service, Questpond front end API. And I will say here to my API, first thing over here, I think I did that OAuth 2.0. I have done it, right? So this is the name OAuth connection, right? So now I'll go to my API and I will say that OAuth 2.0 has to be attached with this so that the connection completes. So I'll go here in the settings and I will say, attach yourself with that federated authentication. What is there? See, remember this naked API, Echo API does not have any security. So the federation is now done by the APIM. So you can see here, I'm saying, go and attach yourself to this OAuth connection, which I created, save it. So now that does the connection between everyone, right? Okay, so good. Now, how do we test this, right? So what is going to happen now? So like this all is connected. You have registered in AD and so on. Let me go and see if there are any steps left. No, nothing is left, right? So now we can now go and try using the developer console, right? So let us go to developer console and let us try to do it. Now, what should we see now? We should see that he should ask for a username and a password of Active Directory. Means now, this is how the thing would be. Let me go back. New share. The authentication will happen in this way. So the developer client will calls to him. He will first get authenticated from the AD. AD will say, hey, like, do you have access to him? And are you a proper guy with the key? He will say, yes, I'm a proper guy with the key. Right. So you are a proper guy with the key. So he will say that, okay, this is the key one. Must be assumed that some key will be generated, right? JWT token. So some token will be generated. This is on the fly token. Huh? That token will be also shared with him. Now what will happen is this client will send that token to the API. So once this token he receives, when he makes a call, he will send it through that bearer token, right? So that token will be sent, and this he will say that, okay, like this token is of this and this is good. So allow him to make a call. So first he will go and he will get a token back, and then that token will be sent over here. And because this guy is also registered in the federated, both of them will be allowed to access. Means the token is shared right afterwards, right? So if you see, that means when the developer portal makes a call, he will also be asked to sign in with the AD. He will also be asked to sign in with the AD. So we should be seeing a sign in of an AD. We should also see the token generated from that AD and the token sent to the API, right? So let us go back and new share. So let's see now. So I'm going to go now to the developer client, Questpond front-end API. I'm sorry, guys. It's a demo. If you do like, I will suggest everyone to do this demo, because this demo talks about how to secure your API. It also talks about app registration. It talks about OAuth. it also shows a demo of OpenID, kind of like, you know, you can learn a lot of things in this demo, right? So now, where is my portal? Portal. Okay, I can get it from there. So I'll go here. I don't know why this new developer portal is not working, guys. I have no idea. So I'll be going to developer legacy portal out here. Let me try to switch into Cognito mode, because in Cognito mode, because I'm logged in here, right, as an Azure thing. So in Cognito mode, it would show something different. So there it is. I'll go to the API. So at this moment, we just have only one API, the Echo API. So I'll click on that. Right. And let's see. In this, I will try to make a get call. Right. So I'll try it. So when I click on try it, let us see now. Okay, good. So you can see now, he needs a subscription key. Remember, what is this subscription key? This is an extra token. By default, you cannot call an APIM directly. It needs
Can
a
you
subscription.
please share the screen?
Oh, it is scared. Okay. I'm going to the get. This is the Cognito mode. I'm sorry, this is the Cognito mode. Why I went into Cognito mode? Because I don't want to log in, right? So I'll go to API, Echo API. We have only one API. I'll try to make a call to the get method. I'm sorry, I was not watching the chat out there. In the chat, I can see a lot of people have posted message. I'm sorry. I'm so much into this. So here it is. Now I'll try to make a call on the get call. So if you see first thing, you will see that when I try to make a get call, he gives me two things. One is he gives me the subscription key. This subscription key is an extra security. This has nothing to do with OAuth. It is an extra security saying that if you are making a call to APIM, you will need a subscription key, right? So I'm going to go and get the subscription key from, so what I'll do is, oh, hang on. This, right. So guys, I've just went to that main window now, so that, Quispon support, can you tell me now, you can see all the 4 screens out here, all my tabs? I'm switching.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So guys, I'm here now. So because I went there for that. So if you see here, when I may try to make a get call, let me be in one window, right? And if you see when I'd say try it, so here it is. You can see now there is a subscription key. The subscription key is a key which is generated. So if you try to do a test out here, that's a subscription key which is needed to just have an extra security, right? So we can get the subscription key by calling this test out here, right? So that's the subscription key, right? So that's what I'm going to go and put it out there, right? I think it's already there. But the most important part is this auth connection out here. You can see there's a key here also. This auth connection key is nothing but your Windows Active Directory key. For example, now, I'm not sure if I try to make a send, you can see now, guys, here it is. You can see he's allowing me to make a call. Please note, he's allowing me to make a call. We will see this part later on. We'll see this, that why the security is still not. But the point here is, now you can see I have this web APIM is saying that, no, you also have to give me extra sign in, right? So if I now go and sign in with this authorization code out here, look at this, right? If you see now, there is an extra bearer token generated. I'm going to go and zoom it out here. This was not there previously. So you can see at the top, there is this subscription key, which this is the first level of security. And you can see once I logged in into this Windows Active Directory, the Windows Active Directory gave me a key. Now this is my bearer token, which I will send it to the APIM. Please, again, let me show you. For example, now you can see this bearer token is EYJ, right? If let us say I try to use something else, let me use the secondary one. You can see why didn't the token generate again? I was expecting a new token. Must be every sign in is a new token, right? Now you can see why, I don't know why is it generating the same token. That should not happen. Must be I have to refresh. The point here is that every time I sign in, this token will be generated and this token will be sent to APIM, right? So you can see this token is getting, this drop down here will not be seen if you had not, if it did not have OAuth configured, right? That's why we have OAuth configured, right? Now coming to the second part. Okay, so like if you don't give this also, or if you give anything bad out here, for example, I can just say beer or anything stupid. No, I can't type anything over here, but you can see here, I'm saying no auth, and still the call does go. You can see there is a 200 okay out here. Still the calls are going properly, right? Why it is, because the final step is left out. That's what the answer was. You have to go into your policy, and in your policy you have to say that please enable validate JWT. If you put this in your policy, in your input policy, then what will happen? Anybody who will try to make a call, he will say, hey, like, do you have a JWT? Right? And in the JWT, in the OpenID, you will say login using Active Directory tenant. So here, the web API will say whichever this JWT comes, it is by using which kind of authentication, AAD, right? So here you can see very quickly. Let me put this. Oh, I can't even put it in the notepad. So this out here, this validate JWT out here has two things. One is it has a login URL. This login says that how is this logging happening. For example, let me show you. This, if you see this validate JWT, it can be validated by various ways. For example, one is it can be validated by Active Directory. It can be validated by B2C. It can be validated by token something. It can be validated by SQL Server. So you can see at this, the URL out there, how it will validate. It depends, on kind of how your thing is, right? So the last thing, what we need to do is, let me go and check, so here, if you see the structure, this, okay, it actually went to the proper page. So here, Active Directory. So first is login dot this and this and this and this and this, and well-known OpenID configuration. Okay. And this is the, okay. So if you see here in the notes, it has said application ID of the backend app. Application ID of the backend app, right? So let us copy this. Let's copy this. Let us go here in the design, in the inbound processing. I will go and I will paste it out here. So application ID of the backend app, application ID of the backend app, application ID of the backend app. This is my server API client, application ID of the backend app. Be very careful, be very, very careful. AAD tenant, Active Directory tenant. Okay, so I think this Active Directory, this one, the same one. Let me check. Must be the tenants are different. Tenant, okay, the tenant ID is different. Okay, I'll copy this. You can see this is an application ID. This is the directory tenant ID. Let me see that notes out there. Sorry. Well-known OpenID configuration. Okay, config OpenID URL. OpenID URL. OpenID URL. That's what it is. OpenID metadata connect. We'll copy this. Can't they make it easier? Now with this, what will happen is, I hope so this works, guys. With this, what will happen is, he will now, I've saved it. I hope I don't have any errors in the configuration. Wow, it's there. Okay. Now let me go back to our test. So here it is, to the test. You can see now, must be I can just refresh things out here. So remember, in the inbound processing, we have put an extra thing saying that, hey, like always keep JWT token. He's coming with a JWT. You have to go to that tenant, take the key from here and match both of them, right? Like a single sign on. So let me go to the API again here. Get. Guys, if this does not work, please try it again, so because sometimes I must have made a mistake in that tenant or something. Right, so here it is. Oh, the subscription key. We need a subscription key. So let's go to the test. Let's hit once test so that we get a subscription key. So many steps out there. You can see now it is unauthorized. Good. Why it is unauthorized? Because yeah, like you cannot just go and call things, right? So you need to get activated from the, you need to get the ID properly, right? So, but the key we wanted. So this is the key. And now let's now try to hit send. Unauthorized. Very good. You can see now the inbound processing is acting, right? Now let me go and see authorization code, right? So you can see the primary and secondary. Remember, whenever, if you see any kind of key generated in Azure, you'll always see primary, secondary. Any certificate generated, primary, secondary. So primary means there are two keys given. So let us say you distribute the primary key to 100 of clients, and tomorrow you say, oh, like I have to close all the 100. So what you can do is you can just stop it, and for the new clients you can just give the secondary key, right? So must be sometimes you want to have these two keys. So I've just taken the primary one. Let me try to hit send. Oh, again unauthorized. Why? Let me see. I see the token. That is a token. Access token is missing. Access token. Why? Yeah, that is right. Access token. This. Let me check again the tutorial. Yeah, that's what it is. I got that. Claim is equal to AUD. Oh, I don't know to build an application. Okay, I need to check this part. Why is he now still giving 401? But guys, did we understand the process? I'm sorry, like because it's already 1 hour now. I need to check that why this token, because the token is generated. Let me see the trace once. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me see the trace. Value bearer. CORS policy was not applied. I don't want a CORS policy. Is it because of CORS? That is strange. Can be. Guys, let us enable CORS in this. Somewhere there was CORS enabled. Let me do that. It's giving some CORS error out there, but I doubt CORS. Somewhere CORS was there. Anything else which is missing out here? Response headers have been sent to the caller. Strange. So guys, I'll have a look at this. The token is going, but that thing is not happening, right? So guys, any questions? I can understand that. I'll try to put a correction video. It will be difficult. So the diagram again, right? So developer portal, we registered applications. We registered into these application. then the Active Directory then created a federated kind of environment. And then now in the front end API, we put that validate JWT token. So if you remember the question, my PPT. So here, this validate JWT is the answer to this, right? So you are developing this and this, so that's what the answer is, right? So guys, any questions, any queries, let me know. Okay, I'll go to the chat here. Developer console, client app, and server app. So here it is, Money. Let me try to reiterate that, right? You have to mention bearer. No, Kumar, that bearer is already coming up. Automatically, that developer client console is doing it. So Money, I'll answer your question. See, the client app and the server app is nothing but in Azure, it is like a registration. For example, in Facebook you have apps, right? This app is of some kind of a game, or this app is, so Facebook has to know, right? This app belongs to what? So it has a registration, it creates a key and says now clients can register into it, right? So the client app and server app is that. The developer console is the actual client who's making a call. So the developer console is a ready-made console given to make your call to APIM. So I thought that rather than writing Angular or creating a console application, I just use that. So the developer console is the actual client, but the client app and the server app, because I have to say app registration, right? It is not the actual app. So that's why because of the word app, it is confusing. So very quickly, in Facebook or in even I've seen in Google, right? You can register an external application. So that is this app and server app, client app and server app. Developer console is the actual client who's making a call. He will make a call first to AD. He will get the JWT token and forward it back to APIM. That's what the actual client is. The developer console is this. So, I can understand the confusion, but this, if I had said that this is your console application, this is actually your Angular client or console client, but I did not create a client. So that's why I have used the developer portal, right? Both of these are registrations. Both are just registrations. They are pointers. They are just pointers toward these actual applications, right? Okay, so that brings us to the end of this session. I'm sorry, again, the confusion at the last. I'm not sure. I have put the wrong tenant ID or what happened. I'll check that. But I'm sure that if you put the proper tenant ID, if you Google around, it should work, right? So I'll put a small 10 minutes follow-up video. What I will do is after this training, I will just sit and I'll just try to see what the correction is. And I will send a follow-up video as well after this lab, right? So any questions? Yes. Any queries? Let me know. Yeah, Money, just try to once, do the demo once yourself. Just try to sit quietly in a room and just understand and try to do the demo, read the document, and then you should understand it, right? Yes, it will need practice. It's not so easy. See, remember, higher end Azure, higher end Amazon, if your security concepts like, what is a certificate? What is a client app? What is a server app? If that is not clear, then this is really tough to understand, right? So thank you very much. And tomorrow,